welcome to my studio. Fall is fastly approaching and our leaves are starting to go away, and I have a lot of projects using leaves, so I want to show you how I'm preparing them for all the different projects we've got going. So let's get started. For my leaves, I used a laminator, but I'm also going to talk to you if you don't have a laminator. But if you're a craft person, this is a must, and these have come down a lot in price. When I bought mine, it was originally $100, and they're under $40, if not a lot lower than that. So check those out. I got mine at Costco, they're at Walmart, and Staples, different things like that. So check them out. And what we want to use is we want to use thermal. And these are laminating pouches. They used to have the paper that you used to have to put them into before they could go to the laminator, but they actually have cut that step out so you can put your leaves right into the laminator. So what I do is I actually take my leaves and I get the moisture out of them because they've still got a lot of moisture in them. So I just kind of lay them where they'll go flat, and we're going to get that moisture out. I also take off all of the little stems, and I want to explain why. Because the fat part creates an air bubble, and this part right here is not sealed, so when you cut that, that part is going to be open. So we want to try to get our leaves as flat as we can, and I've got all different kinds of leaves. Isn't God wonderful? All the colors He gives us, and I did all different kinds here, as you can see, but the flatter you can get them, the better. So, and the drier, the better, but we are going to kind of show you how to dry them a little bit. What happens if you laminate it, still got the moisture in it, you're going to get those pockets around the edges, and again, if you cut up against those, then they're just going to open back up. So I went out and I picked all kinds of different leaves. Now that it's fall and we've got all these wonderful things. I also have some flowers I want to try some petals on. I was thinking if you were doing a wedding, how fun that would be to take some petal leaves out of the bouquet and make some jewelry for them. So I've got all different kinds here. And we're not worried about these being exactly perfect because we're going to do another step on these, so we're not laminating them at this time. Now, if you didn't have a laminator, and see on these guys, we've got these fat stems, so we want to remove all of the stems. That's the fattest part of the leaf, and you do not want to laminate that. So if you think about it now, that's great. If you don't have a laminator, at this point in time, take your iron. And I am putting these just between two sheets of thicker paper, not your real thin paper, kind of your thicker cardstock. You don't want it real thick. You still want it to be able to go through the laminating machine. If you are using the iron, it doesn't matter. Just put it on your highest setting without steam and really push down. The laminator works so much better than the iron does, but you can still do it. And just get all of that moisture out. Now, because we're using the laminator, I'm just going to run this through, and it is going to start to press it all down and get out that moisture. You also could press them and then do the laminator, but this is kind of doing it right away. Don't let your leaves sit overnight because they already start to crinkle and dry up and everything. Get them done that day that you pick them or as soon as you possibly can. Alright, we've ran those through the laminator, and I actually like to do it twice to get them really, really dry. And we'll show you how you can tell, and you can already see some of the moisture coming through up on the paper up on top, and we'll show you that more in a minute here. But we're going to go ahead and run run that through one more time, but we were talking about if you press them, you can still do that and laminate it, but I think you lose a lot of your color. So I like to just get the moisture out and then go ahead and laminate, and I think you retain a lot of that color. So these are almost through, and I still like to run my paper through, my laminate, with my sheet protector. And you do not have to do that nowadays. They make it where you don't need the protector, but this helps me hold on to the laminate paper. You could, if you don't have one, I've also used a manila file you could stick that into and then run it through, and that will help. Also, on the iron, in the laminate, I iron it straight over the top of this, and that's just fine. But if you'd rather have the paper or the pocket in between, that's also really good as well. So now we've kind of got the moisture out, and you can tell, see all the wet, and gently peel these up. And I had some of these that were really wet. I didn't have as many of them this time, that really made patterns on my paper. And this was one of my sheets, and it made all these really cool. This is kind of our ivy or wild stuff that goes around here. It's probably not called ivy, but it grows in the trees, and it really left this pattern behind. So when I have things like that, I just save it and glue it to my cards, and then I took my bling on a roll and I cut it in half and made a border around that card, and those will make really nice Thanksgiving cards or fall cards or whatever you wanted to use. So there's something else you can do with a byproduct that we had. Now once these are done going through, we're going to lay these on our laminate sheet. Now we have to allow enough room to cut between them and still have room on both sides. So that's really important. And I like big leaves and little leaves, especially for earrings. I like little leaves. And on one like this, I want one that's curved this way and one that's curved this way, and they grow on both sides. So I pick one from each side so you can get the same length for earrings. So think about that when you're doing them. And this other little guy, I think he's going to make really pretty Christmas poinsettias, and I want to do that with him as well. My little leaves that I did here for the flower, those were wetter and probably could be ran through a couple more times, and I'm not going to worry and put the time on that, but be really careful when you're lifting these up. I had more color on that one. And another thing this does is if it's not going to lay right and turn out right, it's going to happen on this paper, because by the time you get it to here, you have flat leaves. So you're not going to waste your time or paper on leaves that aren't going to turn out well. So we've got all different kinds going on here. And I love the variegation of color. I was just truly amazed how awesome God is, and all the colors He gives us in nature if we'll just take the time to look for it. And I put big and little and all kinds of different kinds and colors in here. And you want to leave enough around the edges. You don't want them up against the edges. You need to make sure that you have room for it to seal. And I know I didn't run that guy through, but we'll put him right there. And we've used up all our spaces. If I had tinier leaves, I could put them up there as well. Now see, this is where I like the thicker folder because it lets me hold it easier, and we're just going to push that back through. And we were talking about the iron. We could iron it at this stage. It's going to take a little bit more, and you don't have to have the paper on top of it. You could do it directly on the laminate. Just do a test. Make sure that that laminate works that well, but I think pretty much of them have all gone to that type of laminate. Oh, I forgot one thing. Darn it. I forgot to add some glitter. I wanted to add some glitter to these as well. I did this on some of them, and I put the gold glitter on it, and I think it just really is cool. And on like the red ones, I thought I might add some red glitter or green glitter as well, just to give it the, if you were doing it for Christmas, or I think they'd make really cute pins as well as jewelry. So to keep that in mind, just real fine glitter that you could do. Now see how wonderful those turned out. They turned out really good. We don't have too much white around the outside. So when we're cutting these, you're going to want to, this guy I got a little bit too close together right here. I think we should leave him a little bit farther out. You don't want to cut up against this white part. Remember, we talked about that being not quite sealed, so you want to keep everything nice and tight and sealed so it doesn't come undone. So we're going to cut around these, leaving a space. And always cut any sharp edges off. Don't leave any sharp tips, because it is a little bit sharp, especially if you turn it into jewelry or anything else. But that is how you laminate, and then I'll probably go back and do one more with glitter and just show you that real quick. I went out and picked some of my peony plants that have changed colors for the fall. So we're actually my grandmother's plant, and I want to show you, see, these are a lot more juicy. We've got a lot more color. When those look great, just trim those off. Leave the wrinkle. The texture is great. Put those on your card. You've got those fun thing you can do with that as well. So now I've got this all kind of put together here, and we're going to add glitter to this batch as soon as I get them all lined up. Make sure we have room to cut in between them. You don't want to overlap them. Cut both directions. And we're going to add our glitter. And like I said, use a fine, but try anything. I always tell people, they ask me if they can do something, and I always say, you know what, try it, because if I hadn't tried it, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm going to add some green to some of them. I think it'd be fun green. And do a little bit of red on the red. This time I did add gold in the past to those, and I really liked it. I think they really made a great kind of Christmassy feel. And I'm going to try a little red on some of these. Some tinsel glitter on here might be fun too. And try to keep it on the leaves. Try not to get too much on the laminate. The laminate is found with where the machines are in the office supply. If Walmart has it, it's cheaper at Walmart, but your other office supplies carry it as well. A little bit goes a long ways. And make them bigger and smaller and do all kinds of leaves, because I got all kinds of fun projects headed your way. Okay, so we're going to see what this looks like once we get done. And don't get stuck in just my ideas. I always tell everybody to think about what they would do with it, do differently, because that's how we come up with more fun things. Okay, let's see what our glitter looked like. You know what you could do? You could hang Christmas ornaments. Just make those into Christmas ornaments with a little bit of a line, a fish line or something like that. But isn't that cool? Just adding the glitter just gives it a whole new dimension. So that's just a lot of fun. So that is how I prepare my leaves and a bunch of different projects that I'm going to be doing with them. make them bigger, make them smaller. For the smaller jewelry and different things, I use the smaller leaves, so make sure you collect some small leaves. I probably collected more small leaves than I did big leaves, but they're just so beautiful, and I love doing this. If you ever have any questions about anything I'm working on, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com. Thank you for joining me today. God bless.